All right, in our last video, we were talking about anonymous functions and we were learning what they are. And so I just want to do an example of how we could use one with some things that we've already been working with. So here is a document that should look familiar to you, my index.html. All I have done is, let me just kind of give you a preview as we go here. So I have a button here that has an ID of print name. And so the idea is when I click on that button, I've added an event listener to that button. And when that button is clicked, go call a function that we've named getName. And that function then will get the element by ID of the input box. It'll get the value, put it into this variable. The next thing it does is get an element by ID display name, which is this paragraph opening and closing tags. And it's going to put in between those opening and closing tags whatever was put into that inbox. So I'm going to actually demonstrate this in a browser, assuming I can pull that browser over for you. And so let's just see that work just to make sure. So here is my P tag that I'm going to put something in. If I put in Kirsten, which is my name, and click on the button, I see it's displayed here, and I can also see that Kirsten has been put in between the opening and closing tags of the P elements. So that is working beautifully. All right, but what I want to do now is do the same idea utilizing an anonymous function. So I'm going to do the same thing, comment this out, and we're going to do it a little different way. Okay, so this time we're going to take that same button. So I'm going to take up to this point here. And instead of calling a named function like we did before, where I called a function called getName, this time I'm just going to send it an anonymous function. I'm going to create a function immediately. So let me just do this for clarity. So before we had this idea, right? So now I'm going to, and this is just to get the syntax correct, I'm going to eliminate the word getName. And it's going to become a function instead. So let me create some white space for myself. And I'm going to type the word function. It doesn't have a name, so I'm not going to give it a name. Usually when we give a function a name, the next thing we do is follow it by the parentheses in which we can receive arguments. Once that's completed, I do an opening and closing brace. And now I have a complete stub for a function. So I just do this slowly so you can see how the punctuation makes sense. Okay, so now I have a stub set up for an opening and closing function. All I need to do, I'm just going to do the same code. I'm going to put that in here. Okay, so now the idea is instead of calling a named function, I'm just creating an anonymous function. And sometimes that syntax gets a little confusing. That's why I'm trying to, ad nauseum, keep showing you this over and over again. So I have a function, and you can see my complete function because it doesn't have a name. It has open and closing parentheses. It has opening and closing curly braces, and those are nested inside my opening and closing parenthesis of my method call here. And inside of that is my documentation, or the lines of code that I want to run inside my function. And if we've done it correctly, let me save it, Control S, and then I can preview it, and it should be doing the same thing. So, spelled my name wrong, but that's okay. And looks like I have an error somewhere. Where is my error? So, click function. What have I done incorrectly? Let's see, I messed something up here. Let me come into my code here. Maybe this will give me some more direction. So I type my name. Display input didn't work, so it says I have a syntax error. I expect oh, okay. So I guess it doesn't like my period there. Fantastic. All right, so now if I run that again, debuggers are always helpful. And so if I run it again, now I should be able to type in my name this time. Oh, I spelled it wrong last time, so if I spelled it correctly, there it is. So same code, same idea, except we are running an anonymous function. We are calling a function immediately to run that we do not have the ability to call from anywhere else in our code because it doesn't have a name, but it runs that function immediately. So that's an example of an anonymous function, and we'll see more examples of that in the next video.